The return of KD has arrived, folks. After missing 19 games with an MCL sprain and tibial bone bruise, Durant will return to game action this Saturday against the Pelicans, barring any setbacks in practice. The Warriors have gone 15-4, winners of 13 straight without Durant. Max?
Yes.
This is a tough one.
Yes.
Who's going to be the alpha dog when KD returns?
It's a little bit of a look, the answer is Steph Curry, but it's a little bit of a trick question because the whole reason Kevin Durant, I believe, looked at Golden State and said, yes, I want to go there, is not just he knew he had to load up to beat LeBron James if he ever wanted to win a championship, and the Thunder maybe didn't have enough, even with him and Westbrook and Ibaka and once upon a time Harden and later on Steven Adams and these guys, but also because the whole issue with Westbrook, and you could see it especially when KD got hurt. Westbrook really showed you what he could do. The whole issue was constantly who's alpha and who's beta, who's going to take the last shot. And Westbrook has the alpha personality, but Durant, because he's so much taller and shoots better, he's the better player. And Durant looked at Golden State and said, you know who takes the last shot? The open man, whoever that is, if it's Clay, if it's Iguodala, it doesn't matter. Draymond Green, let alone Steph or him if he was on that team. The open man takes the last shot. And I think that's what appeals to him about Golden State. They play basketball the way it's supposed to be played and all that. But in terms of who will be the primary offensive engine on that team, the answer is Steph Curry. For the same reason, I said that Westbrook, in this era, it's easier to get the triple-double, not that it's easy, than it was in Jordan's era, say. The primary ball handler on a modern offense is going to be the offensive engine. And we can see how well, once Steph got readjusted to the configuration of the team without Durant, how well the Warriors played, how well they played last year without Durant. Durant, ideally on that team, is like a super luxurious, insane, complementary piece. But Steph is the engine.
Thank you so much, Max Kellerman, for making all of my points. Because I agree with you. That's the reason he went to Golden State. Durant went to Golden State so he didn't have to have this alpha who takes the last shot conversation. So he didn't necessarily have to be an alpha personality because that's not really how Golden State is run. Golden State is like, hey, if you're the open guy, if you're the guy with the hot hand, if you're the guy with the best matchup, then you get the ball. And that's what we saw when Kevin Durant played, because Kevin Durant is the best player on that team. And when it gets into the playoffs and when the games get tight and when you can hand check and when you can push stuff around, we have seen as the playoffs go on and as the playoffs get deep, he's not as effective of a scorer. He's not as effective at taking games over as we've seen him during the regular season. What we're seeing now, we're used to seeing that. Steph's averaging about 27.5 in the last 13. He's had 42 in a couple of games. We've seen Steph do that, but we've also seen him tail off in the playoffs. And I know he had the knee injury last year, but the playoffs are a different game for him. Now, why Kevin Durant would thrive? Why Kevin Durant would be the alpha? First of all, because he's 7 foot, like he said, anytime he's talking to girls. He's 6'10" when it comes to the NBA. He is a matchup nightmare. And so when you get to the playoffs and guys can push you around, who can get a shot easier than Kevin Durant? Who can make a shot easier than Kevin Durant? Now, when it gets to the end of the game and we want to figure out who takes the last shot, that's something Steve Kerr and the defense will probably dictate. But when it comes to these playoffs and a healthy Kevin Durant and figuring out who has the best matchup, who can put the ball in the hole better, who can make the best play for us as a team, is going to be Kevin Durant. And though Steph has done a great job, obviously showing that he is still an MVP caliber player and a player worth having on your team as a number one, he's not the number one dog on this team offensively when Kevin Durant plays.
But he's the engine, Ryan. He's the guy who's going to make it happen. And if Draymond turns out to be his pick-and-roll partner on the pivotal play, it'll be Draymond, not Kevin Durant. Steph has the ball in his hand. He's the primary ball handler. He makes those decisions, and he has the best shot on the team. Although it's debatable, that's how well Clay shoots the ball.
Right.
They have weapons everywhere. The interesting thing to me, and this applies to Durant and it applies to Steph and maybe Clay, is the argument in basketball, in modern basketball, contemporary basketball, really has boiled down to the old-timers who think that the iso ball, hero ball of yesteryear still applies in the closing moments of games, right? It still comes down to, especially in the playoffs with the referees' whistles and everything, who is going to take over the game at the end? Who's the closer, as they used to call Kobe? Versus the more modern, egalitarian kind of idea of, hey, whoever's the open man, whoever has the matchup, it's kind of like ego-less basketball. And I think that's an undecided issue. I think the Warriors lost last year because they didn't have that one guy who could close. Steph didn't seem to want it. No one seemed to really want it or be able to do it in those closing moments. And I think the same thing applied with the Thunder against the Warriors. That's the Warriors against the Cavs. But the Thunder against the Warriors, Westbrook wanted it, but he couldn't get it done. He was too tight. And Kevin Durant also seemed to choke in that Game 7. And the question will be, in these finals this year, it's going to be what we all think, Cavs and Warriors. Are the Warriors finally just too loaded to win, to lose no matter what? Or do they still need that guy because the Cavs have two of them in LeBron and Kyrie who can take it over at the end?
The Warriors are now deeper.
Yeah.
And so that just makes it scary for everybody.
No question. I want to get into one other topic.